Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now, we're taking a look here today at one of a fan favorite coins here, okay? And it's Luna. Luna is essentially a very good coin for a lot of people. They've actually made a lot of money on it, and it's been a good one. So, regardless of all that, we're taking a look at the technical analysis. There's no fundamentals here. I'm not a financial advisor either. This is for educational purposes only. Always recommend you do your own research. Now, I want to thank you to my community members for asking that I cover this, of course. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much. And just know I have years of trading experience, though, if you are new to the channel and understand that you're in good hands, I like to teach you best practice and how to become more of a self-sufficient trader. And I do that in my Signal group as well. Link in the description below for that. And what I do is I share all of my trades with my community members every month, of course, well, day in and day out, but it is monthly. And what you can do is you can actually follow along. I give you best practice, entry points, profit targets, sell targets, etc., the whole 9 yards to make sure you are more profitable as well. And I'm trending at about 80% success rate right now. So it's been awesome. Couldn't do it without you, though. Honestly, thank you so much to my patrons right now. Fantastic. You're a great group of folks. It's growing a lot faster than I really expected. So thanks again for your belief in me. Moving forward, I hope you enjoy what you learned here today. Let's go ahead and check it out. Without further ado, let's get to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look here at Luna, which is Terra Luna. And just before we do, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first. So if you are new to the channel, first of all, welcome. But second of all, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum to make sure we get a baseline in the market so we know exactly what's going on. Because if you are trading arbitrarily without understanding the two largest coins in the industry and what they're doing, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. So that's why we want to look at that here. Let's go ahead and take a peek here first at Bitcoin. Just before we do, I use TradingView.com desktop application. Link in the description below for a free month worth of charting tools. I think the premium version or whatever you call it. I have the paid version myself because I use this every single day, and I like to use more than 2 indicators present at one given time. Right, so I highly recommend you might consider using that. If nothing else, check it out for a month, see if you like it. It doesn't cost you a thing. Moving on though, here with Bitcoin, this is a 4-hour chart, and this is my favorite time frame for understanding as most as you can in just a one time frame, right? So we're looking at Bitcoin here on the 4-hour chart. We're going to enable the simple moving averages, and this is the 200 and the 50. The 50 is this orange line, the 200 is the purple line, and they're essentially support and resistance levels that the industry leaders, the whales, the bulls, the bears, everyone except for ourselves are using. Of course, we are using it too, don't get me wrong, but we're not controlling the market like they are, and we need to understand what they're doing, and that is why it's important to utilize these. Now, I know this is kind of a busy chart. I'll explain. There's a lot of support and resistance levels here because Bitcoin has been moving kind of erratically lately. A lot of control and manipulation of the market where we have this nice bull runs and then just a sharp decrease down. It's pretty par for the course, but it's been a little bit more rampant than usual. First of all, we have a major resistance at 50,000. So once Bitcoin breaks 47,800 here, it'll be onwards to 50,000, pending no other support and resistance levels are created. We also have a resistance of 46,500. That's the next major milestone. But good news is we have this ascending wedge pattern, ascending triangle essentially, that is allowing the price to stay above. In other words, it is working as higher highs and higher lows. Yes, we have a lower high here, but ultimately we have lower highs. That's the important thing, is to consistently be creating lower highs. So that being said, we're good to go. I think it's going to work well, considering the fact that we also have a 50-day moving average here working as a major support. Okay, so all in all, very good stuff from Bitcoin here. We got a few other support levels down below. One that was just tested here at about 45,200, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But I think it's safe to presume we're going to see the price continue upwards. We might see a little retracement, but I doubt we're going to see anything lower than 45,000. All right, so that's kind of the state of Bitcoin right now. Let's go ahead and move on to Ethereum. And pretty much you can just repeat what I just said for Bitcoin for Ethereum. It's essentially the same thing. It doesn't have as many peaks and valleys as Bitcoin does, but it is honoring certain support and resistance levels. Right now it's trying to break through the 50, just dropped below, but we could likely see that break above and stay above because this candlestick still has an hour and a half left to close. We also have a major resistance at about 3250. That was a previous recent support, previous resistance. Also 2900 is a major support level. That was tested about 10 times back right here in between May 20th and June 8th. So a good 3 weeks it was tested and rejected, then eventually trailed down and bounced off 1725. Secondary supports, I guess you could say at this point about 2400. So we got 24 and 2900 as the two major supports. Moving on to Luna, let's take a look here at the one-day chart and see what's going on. And holy bunkers, we are going to the moon, as some would say. Let's go ahead and quickly mark this first. Obviously, major support level now. Previous resistance at 2183. By the way, if you are new to trading in general, anytime the previous all-time high, which actually, hold on, just got to double check this. Yes, at least on this exchange, it is the all-time high. It's a major support level, right? It becomes a major support if it can close above that. Now, this one-day candlestick honestly has only about 2 hours into it, right? But the previous candlestick closed right there. So generally speaking, we are looking at this to be a strong support level moving forward. But just bear in mind, this candlestick hasn't officially closed yet, so it could still potentially be a resistance because it was technically a resistance when yesterday's candlestick closed, right? Because again, you have to use a closed candlestick, not one that's open and still trending. We're only 2.5 hours into this one-day candlestick here, which is where most of the growth and likely most of the volume is coming from, and we'll basically see what happens soon. But if we can get this to close above, consider a support at 2180. What was that? 2180. That's a hard one to read. We could just say 2190 as a round number. And if it closes below, of course, this time tomorrow, approximately 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, whatever it is where you're at, then it'll be considered resistance. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We're still not out of the clear yet, but that is a potential working as a support level right now. We also have a convergence here. Well, so to speak, it's basically a golden cross, but that could be another reason for the price action to jump up, because when you get this to intersect in upward fashion, that's usually a consideration for a buy signal or for the price to go long. Now, we might be late to the party because people could be investing right now because of that. That does have a tendency of creating a state of hysteria for some unknown reason. Well, it's not unknown, but it's kind of strange to me, honestly. I don't think that that's super important, at least when the price action is this far away from that being a support level. Regardless, we'll worry about that another time. For right now, we're looking at about 85 for the RSI, pretty standard for this type of situation. Keep in mind, last time when it was up over 85, it stayed that way. Again, granted, it went sideways, but it stayed that way for 5 days straight until there was a slight retracement to bounce off. So right now, 70 on the RSI is working as a support level, okay? So there's a continuation possibility here from Luna. Moving on to the 4-hour chart, we had a strong convergence here on the MACD at 0900 August 15th. So yesterday at 9 a.m. We're just go ahead and mark that here. Go right down the middle. And I just like to mark that to kind of see how the ISHO Cloud coincides. Also, before we move on, 50-day simple moving average working as a strong support level. It may get tested again soon here in the near future, but it's hard to say. Usually the 50 will catch up with the price action quickly when it ramps up like this so fast. Again, we're not there yet, no worries, but it's currently working as a support, so that's another positive. If all goes well, the price action goes sideways. This 50-day moving average catches up with the support level of 2190, and they both work together to keep driving the price up. I personally like to buy at major support levels, so I would like to see that, honestly, for the price to go sideways, maybe come down, retrace a little bit to 2190, bounce, reinvest, price goes up. Because we're currently in uncharted territory, because keep in mind, this line right here tells us the previous all-time high was 2190, and now we're essentially at 2390. So we have about 10% approximately above previous support and all-time high. Looking at the 1-hour chart, let's go and take a quick gander at the ISHO Cloud. And also, too, just before to preface here, I have a signal group that I send signals to my community members where I share all of my trades that I take throughout the week. With buy signals, sell signals, profit targets, to make sure that you can get into a trade knowing what you're going to get out of it. And I have about an 80% success rate, but this is something I use almost every time. Granted, when I buy off of major support levels, different story because you're buying under the cloud. But if you're new to the channel, the cloud is essentially one of the most impactful indicators we can use on the 1-hour chart, or 1-hour chart more specifically. Okay. Now, what it basically just means is that it is a conservative buy signal when the price is above the cloud. That's this little, green and red squiggly lines here. The cloud, they kind of look like clouds, right? And when it's below, it's considered a sell signal. Okay, so had you invested back here, you would have taken a decent profit of approximately 20%, plus or minus, right? And had you invested here, you would have taken another profit of approximately, well, if you go with current price action, about 38%, but just being realistic, probably more like 30, right? Again, the cloud is very good at telling us good buy signals and good sell signals. especially when we get a convergence on the MACD. Now, here's the icing on the cake here, and take a look at this. I marked this, remember, on the 4-hour chart where the MACD intersected with the, the 16 correction. The MACD has a 12 and a 26 moving averages. They're basically two exponential moving averages, and they're moving, on top of each other. When the price intersects in an upward fashion, that's considered a convergence, and that's what I marked here. Therefore, looking at the 1-hour chart on the ISHO Cloud, not 1 hour earlier, we got an indication that there's a buy signal from the cloud, right? So it's like a double entendre, or whatever the case is. I don't think that's the right term, sorry. But it's like a double down, right? It's like you're doubling on the investment there, knowing that you are moving in the right direction and things are going really well. So big picture, if you're going to use the cloud, just make sure the price is above the cloud, buy signal. When it's below, it's considered a sell signal. Moving on to TD Sequential here, just go ahead and take a quick peek. We probably got some resets. Yes, we did. But just so you know, if you're unfamiliar with TD Sequential, it basically kind of tells us when there's exhaustion. Commonly, when there's 9 hours or more, or just 9 candlesticks rather, of continuous upward momentum or downward momentum, it'll essentially reset. Normally at the 9, you'll see a retracement occur or some type of reversal. Now, this is a strong bull run. We just had a MACD convergence and the ISHO Cloud broke out. So this is the reason why it didn't reset. It kept going up. But you can see this overtime here. If you see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 candlesticks extra before it retraced, and all it did was go sideways. So that means we're in the midst of a very, very strong bull run, and it's going to be probably continuing sideways for some time until it kind of levels out. Now it's pumping right now. We'll see what happens. But generally speaking, I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't fizzle out and kind of go sideways and retrace. But again, we are in uncharted territory right now. So it's really hard to understand specifically where it's going to go because of the simple fact that there's no ceiling right now, right? It just keeps on continuing. So what we have to look at, honestly, is when there's kind of an over-exaggeration. In other words, when we look at the 4-hour chart, just to kind of quickly note here, I didn't touch on this, RSI is up over 70. Yes, it's working still as a support level essentially at 70, but that basically just means it's going to have to come back down eventually, right? This MACD can't shoot straight upwards for so long, okay? That just basically means that the bulls have had control for quite a long time and it needs to come back down. It's the same equivalent of, trying to hold, I don't know, like a balloon underwater. It's going to want to surface eventually, right? So the bears are wanting their turn. They're going to want their time. But the bulls have just taken a lot of time. Now, here's a good thing, too, just to note with this bull run. There's one thing I like a lot about it. If you look at the 4-hour chart, we got this up over the staircase pattern. This is fantastic. Okay, any good bull run, you're going to see a sideways consolidation after an increase. If you don't get this period of consolidation like we see right here or right here, then it's going to come back down, right? So what we want right now is for more sideways action. Otherwise, it'll come back down, okay? So if this continues up too much longer, we might see it come down, perhaps bounce, or it might just likely continue downwards. Okay, so just something to consider. It's important to understand that. Oops, I didn't want to delete all those. Just go ahead and go back there. So that's kind of what I like to point out, though. Just some some friendly advice for the future. When we're in situations like this, no, we don't know how much higher it's going to go, but will it go much higher? Probably not, at least without some sideways action and some more consolidation. Yes, we've consolidated for a little while, but this is probably only about 7 to 8 hours. We probably need a good 12 to 16 hours of consolidation. So I think it's jumping up a little too fast, a little too premature. Just my opinion. Looking at the 15 here, we're just going to quickly identify the EMA and VWAP, see if we have any good entry points here. And yeah, EMA, by the way, exponential moving average, I use the 15 on the 15-minute chart, easy to remember. And it's just very beneficial. Instead of the 9 and the 20, I just used the 1. And the whole point of the EMA 15 is to kind of identify entry points, right? So this is a bull run, still a bull run. State of consolidation, no consistency there. When the price drops below, we're considered losing VWAP. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is when it comes to the EMA, you only want to try to take entry when the price is above EMA. When it's below, it's considered bearish, and you don't want to do that. So in retrospect here, right when the price jumped above the ISHO Cloud and the 4-hour chart gives us that convergence, this would have been an awesome point in which to take entry. More specifically, right here where we have these two consistent green bars closing above EMA and VWAP. So you see these two right here? I'm not drawing very well, apologize, but those two basically tell us that, hey, we've got the price over EMA, price over VWAP, so we're basically above support, which is a VWAP. We're above EMA, and we also have 30 minutes of confirmation knowing the bulls are in complete control. So the bulls have controlled the market for 30 minutes. The likelihood of them consistently doing that while above EMA and VWAP is very high, right? So instead of gambling, why not just kind of roll with it, right? Why not go with the flow? That's what this does, and that's why I have an 80% success rate in my signal group, because of things like this. Okay, so just stuff to note. Again, it's easy to point out. I recognize that because that had already happened, but you can kind of see the trend here. If you can set up indicators for the MACD when it converges in an upward fashion on the on the 4-hour chart, and also do the same thing for the actual ISHO Cloud when it breaks above 2. The rest is history. All you got to do is quickly identify, see if you have price above EMA and VWAP, and you're good to go. That being said, my prediction here for this coin is that it'll continue upwards only if we can get some sideways action soon, right? Because it had this nice little staircase pattern. Okay, we need to have that. But as you can kind of see, the staircases, that was what, 4 or 5 days in between each one of those time frames, and that allowed it to continue. So I mean, if you look at the deviation here, that's 40% growth, whereas the growth from before was only about 25%. Okay. So yes, it's pumping. Yes, it's great. Yes, it's above support, and it broke its all-time high. But none of that matters if we can't get some kind of sideways action, because not like we're being greedy, but I would say that audio itself, if it was an entity, is being greedy right now because it's too high for its own good, and it could likely come crashing back down. So just be careful. I really, truly hope it continues upwards. I really do, because I know I have a lot of community members invested in this right now. But I can tell you that in my experience, these things usually come back down hard and fast if they don't have room to breathe. Right? We need to have that, that BNB from back in May where it went from 300 to 600 in a ghostly fashion. We didn't even know it happened because it just increased 15% every day. Right? We need to have that happen with this here moving forward, because Luna will it'll crush if we're not careful. So I hope you found benefit here. Obviously, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Reference my Telegram community, and I want to thank you so much for joining me here, especially this far. If you watched all the way to the end, it shows you're willing to grow and mature as a trader, and that's fantastic. Feel free to communicate with me through Telegram, or support me on Patreon too, so you can learn as much as you can, and we can all kind of trade together. So thanks again. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.